Shalom Aleichem, Erev Tov, and a good Yontif Chassidim, Lashon Teva, Belimud HaChassidus, Ubedarke HaChassidus, Tichosedu v'Sichosemu. We should all be written and inscribed for a good. And it's interesting that in the Nusach, in the we don't see in the way that the Frierdiker Rebbe has written it, it doesn't say Shana Teva Umesuka, and also a sweet year. It's interesting. It says we should be written and inscribed for a good year. Belimud Chassidus, in the studies of Chassidus, ubedarkes Chassidus, and in the ways of Chassidus. And someone once asked me, someone once asked about that question, why doesn't it say like it says on Rosh Ha'Shana? Rosh Ha'Shana we say, Ksiva v'chasima teva l'shana teva u'mesuka, good and sweet year. So one of the answers that I heard was that when it comes to the year, the material year, so Hashem goes and gives us the material year on a good and sweet degree. In other words, that we can sense it with all our five senses. Not only that it remains chas v'shalom only in the heavenly realms, but is not drawn down into this world. But this is in regard to the material factors of life. When we come to the spiritual factors of life, this is something that's meant to be endeared in a manner that we have to do our avodah, we have to work, we have to do our service, we have to go and we have to make an effort in order to go and to bring this on a revealed basis by us. In other words, these things already exist within us, within our godly soul, within our nefesh elokis, and it's the factor of, or the merit and the responsibility of the individual to go and to do the work that is needed in order to go and to have it revealed, because it's already in the material world. So, nevertheless, since we already spoke about Shana Teva Umesuka, we already mentioned it, so it should be also a good, and not only good, but also a sweet year. And as much work as we might do on a revealed basis, there's always more work to do in order to go and to have these factors revealed in our daily lives. We're celebrating Yutes Chof Kislev. Now it's the culmination of Chof Kislev, the 20th of the month of Kislev, the day of the Geula of the Alter Rebbe, the day of the liberation of the elder Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, of the Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi, who was freed from the Tsarist imprisonment that he was put under for 53 days from the day after the holiday of Sukkot. It was actually Isru Chag in Chutz La'aretz. It was the day after Simchas Torah. For 53 years, until he came and he was released on the week of the portion of Vayeshev, the week of the portion that we're in. It was actually on a Tuesday that he was liberated, that he was freed from jail, and the Alter Rebbe makes a point of the factor that it was Tuesday. Pa'amayim kitev, v'tev l'shamayim, v'tev l'brios. It's also in the supernal nature, it's good, and also in the material nature, it's good. And the main thing is that this is our holiday. The Alter Rebbe comes and says that anyone that comes and celebrates this holiday with him, so he will take him from the Meitzar El HaMerchav, from the straits to the wide open ranges of life, from Me'achoshech El Ha'or, from darkness to light, Umeha Gehenom, and he will schlep the individual, each and every one of us, he will schlep us out of Gehenom. And the kavono, the intention in regard to taking us out of Gehenom is that there are individuals that during their lifetime they can actually we can find ourselves in Gehenom. Why? Because we're pursuing the enjoyments, the pleasures of the material world, instead of going and pursuing the spiritual factors that Hashem gives us as an assignment here in this world. to go on to pursue the study of Torah, the study of Nigla the Torah, the revealed facets of the Torah, and Nista the Torah, and Chassidus, the inner essence of the Torah, going and doing, pursuing the mitzvahs that we can do and we can accomplish during our lifetime here in this world. And this is the ayeka that the Alter Rebbe was asked about in jail. What is the concept of Hashem coming and calling out to Adam and Chava in the Garden of Eden? Where are you? What does he mean? What does it mean? He didn't know where they were? Of course he knew where they were. And Rashi says that it's in regard to the fact that they were actually being Hashem didn't want to frighten them, so he wanted to come into a conversation with them. So he called out like a father searching for his son that's hiding. But here the minister told the Alter Rebbe, and I know that commentary already. He was a very learned minister, the minister of education apparently. And he said, I want to know what you have to say. And the Alter Rebbe asked him, do you believe in Hashem? He says, yes. And do you believe that everything that's written in the Torah is true? And he said, also, he confirmed that he believes in the supremacy of the truth of the Torah. So then the Alter Rebbe proceeded to explain to him that every single individual, man, woman, and child, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, is meant to be instructed to and ask themselves. We are meant to be asking ourselves on a regular basis, Ayeka, where are we? Just like the word literally translated is, where are you? So it's supposed to arouse within us the inner call of where are we? What have we accomplished in our lives? Have we fulfilled our mission in life? Have we earned our life visas that Hashem has given our soul here to proceed in a body in the mundane world? Or do we still have things that we have to accomplish? Do we still have our mission to fulfill in life? And this the Alter Rebbe comes and tells us. The Alter Rebbe comes and tells us later on that this is what saved his life. The question by divine providence that the minister of education, that this minister went and asked the Alter Rebbe in jail, this is what saved his life, because the Alter Rebbe was in an ecstatic motion of uplifting spirits. Why was he so happy in jail, in this cubicle, literally cubicle, barely enough room to move around? Because he felt that he was put in jail because he was supporting families in Eretz Yisrael so that they will be able to go and to be existent, and they will be able to eat, to drink, and to study Torah. And this is the reason. Literally, they said you're smuggling money from Russia to the enemy, to Turkey. Why Turkey? Because Eretz Yisrael was under the jurisdiction of the Turkish government in those days. And therefore, anyone that was moving money from Russia to Israel was considered moving money to the enemy. And not only to the enemy, but to these people that really were in the midst of a battle against Russia. So therefore, this would classify the Alter Rebbe as the enemy of the Tsarist government. Once a person is classified as an enemy to the Tsarist government, there's not much chance in regard to this person's future. This person, the only thing that they have to do with him is to end the person's life, chas v'sholem. The Alter Rebbe was sure that he was going to have his life ended, and he was going to go up to heaven, and he was going to be actually giving his life over in order to sanctify Hashem's name. And he was in such a high level of spirituality that he felt the great bliss, to the extent that he felt that his own soul is leaving his body. It's not the first time that we hear of aliyos neshama, that the soul leaves the body. The one of the main stories of Hasidism, of Hasidus, is with the founder of the Chassidic movement, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, who on Rosh Hashanah, he actually had his soul leave his body, and he was able to go to the higher chambers of Moshiach, and that's where he asked Moshiach, "Mosai ke'osimar, when are you, Master Moshiach, arriving?" And Moshiach answered him, when your well springs are going to be spread outwards to the entire four corners of the universe. This is basically talking about our time, our period and our time and age. But this is what saved the Alter Rebbe. When the minister went and asked him what exactly Hashem is looking for when he's approaching Adam and Chava and asking them, Ayeka, where are you? He didn't mean to say that he doesn't know where they are. Of course he knew where they are. Hashem is everywhere, and everywhere is Hashem. And he knows everything that's going on. What does it mean? Like we said before, we have to ask ourselves, Ayeka, have we accomplished? Have we succeeded? Have we done everything that within our ability to fulfill our mission in life? When the Alter Rebbe had this reflected back at him through the answer that he gave himself to the minister, this is what went and brought him to having his soul remain in his body and not depart, because he realized he has all the Chassidim that are waiting for him, and he has to teach Chassidus, he has to teach the inner dimensions of the Torah, and he has to go and he has to take care of the Chassidim. He has to make sure that they have what to eat and what to drink, not only spiritually, also materially, and he has to go and he has to spread the well springs all over the world. As Moshiach instructed the Baal Shem Tov. Has he done this yet? Has he completed? He hasn't completed this yet. His mission is still way beyond him. And that's what we have to be asking each and every one of us. We have to ask of ourselves. Our story this week begins. It's a very interesting story, but it's also connected to Yutes Kislev, the liberation from jail, and it also is connected to the upcoming holiday that is arriving this coming Sunday night. Next week, and Sunday night is the first light of Hanukkah, and this story begins with a shadar. Shadar is a shliach derabanan. In other words, he is a fundraiser in simple English terminology. And he goes out in order to go and to fundraise for the Rebbe, for the yeshivas, and his name is Rav Yankiv Menken. Now, Rav Yankiv Menken, he was a very interesting character, and he was very learned. Yeah, the fundraisers usually are the most learned. They're the Rosh Hashivas or the mashpim, the spiritual guides. Because they know their stuff the best, and they have the ability to have the influence on the gvirim, the people that have the ability to give, so that they should open up their pocketbooks. And on one of the occasions that he went out on his fundraising trip, he comes to a town, and in this town, every single town, they have their certain gvirim, they have their certain wealthy men, and each person is already written down by the fundraiser how much this person gives every year. And it happened that he wound up at the doorstep of a certain gvir, a certain wealthy person of the city, and the gvir starts giving him a frown, and instead of smiling and greeting him with a big happy smile, and Rav Yankov asked him, "What happened? What's going on?" So he said, "What can I tell you? The year was not such a successful year. And therefore, I didn't make all the money that I usually make in the previous years." So Rav Yankov says, "No, so what does it have to do with me?" What does it have to do with him? So he says, "Unfortunately, I won't be able to give you the amount that I usually give you on the annual basis as in the previous years." So Rav Yankov Menken hears this, and he says, "In that case, I won't be able to take from you anything." He's shocked. He says, "What? I'm not talking about, I'm not cutting it, 50%. I'm just giving you a little less than what I usually give you. He says, yeah, I understand what you said. And that's exactly what I answered. In this case, I won't be able to accept anything that you have to give me. So the Gvir, the wealthy man, is in a state of shock, and he says, I request an explanation. So Rav Yankov comes and explains to him the following. It's not that deep, but we'll explain the details as we go. In the Talmud, he starts telling him this. He's a learned person. He says, in the Talmud, it tells us about a story with Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair was the father-in-law of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, if it tells anyone anything about how holy and spiritual a human being we're talking about. A real Talmudic, a great tzaddik, Talmudic scholar. But the story is not about Rabbi Pinchas, the son of Yair. It's actually about Rav Pinchas's donkey, his mule. What's the story? He says once the mule was stolen by thieves, and when the thieves gave the mule they gave the mule vegetables to eat, so the mule refused to eat from the food that was placed before it. And these thieves, they don't understand what in the world is going on. The mule has to be hungry, and what's going to be? The mule would not open its mouth to eat a morsel of the vegetables that were put in front of it. Later on, the thieves understood that there's something holy about the donkey, and they went and they returned it to Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, and they said, we don't understand what in the world is the matter with your donkey. It wouldn't eat anything that we put in front of it. So Rabbi Pinchas smiled and he said, listen, the donkey is used to eating by me. And even though it's not obligated, but the fact of the matter is that all the fruits and vegetables that I have in my home are tithed. In other words, we separate a tenth in order to give us a meiser. And therefore, the donkey got used to eating tithed foods, and therefore, by you, the food isn't tithed, and therefore the donkey wouldn't eat. The thieves understood. But between us, we still have a very difficult question, and Rav Pinchas ben Yair didn't answer this question. Rav Yankov Menken did answer the question. Rav Yankov looked at the Gvir and he said, tell me, if the mule of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, if it was such a great Talmid Chochem, it was such a holy donkey that it wouldn't eat from tithed foods, and it was so knowledgeable not to eat from foods that were not tithed, that are tevel, didn't the donkey know the law? It's an open law in the Jewish code of law. It says it's mentioned in Rambam and Maimonides that that a person is allowed to go and to separate a tithe b'machashova, in one's thought. In other words, it doesn't have to literally, physically be separated, but the person in one's mind can say that I am separating a tenth from these fruits and vegetables and eat from the fruits and vegetables, and afterwards leave over 10% of the fruits and vegetables. And then it's considered that the person ate tithed fruits and vegetables. So didn't the holy donkey of Rav Pinchas ben Yair, didn't he know this halacha? He didn't know this law in the Jewish code of law. Rav Yankov comes and says to the Gvir, obviously the donkey knew this law also. So why didn't he eat? You ask me. I'll explain to you. The donkey made the simple cheshbon, he made the simple calculation. If I go and I eat, I'll tithe in my mind the tenth from the fruits and vegetables that they're giving me, and I'll only eat 90%, and I'll leave over 10%. The thieves are going to see that they can save money on me. They don't have to give me that much food. So the next time they give me food, they'll give me 10% less. And I'll tithe the fruits and vegetables, and I'll eat, and I'll leave over 10%. And each time they're going to give me less and less food until they'll barely give me any food to exist, and I'll drop. The donkey said he'll die. So therefore, he said, I'm not going to eat anything. And then let the thieves go and fight and figure it out. And then you have Rav Yankov Menken looked at the Gvir and he said, the same applies to you and to anyone that wants to give me less. If there is a person that wants to give me less, I don't accept. Just like the donkey of Pinchas ben Yair. Why? Because today you're going to give me 10% less. Next year you'll give me 20% less, and each year you're giving me less and less until I won't be able to get from you anything. So it's better I don't receive anything, and then you'll make the effort that next year you'll be able to give me exactly not only what you were giving me till now, but you'll be able to add and you'll be able to increase. And this also has to do with Hanukkah, because the law, as we know, in regard to Hanukkah is not like Beit Shammai, that says that we light at the beginning, the first night of Hanukkah, we light 8 candles, and then we go and we decrease every night of Hanukkah till the last night of Hanukkah, that according to Beit Shammai, they light only one candle, one light. But according to Beis Hillel, who says Heilech Meisif the air, that we have to go and continue to add in light. When we're talking about Torah, when we're talking about mitzvahs, we have to know that this is something that we have to add in, and we're not allowed to decrease. Why aren't we allowed to decrease? The same answer that the donkey had. Because if we start to decrease and the Yetzer Hara sees that he's successful in causing us to decrease in our Torah study, and to decrease in our observance of the mitzvahs, so then what's going to happen? He's going to roll us down the hill until we're going to land in the very deep pit without any Torah, without any mitzvahs, chas v'sholom. And this is the instruction that we learn for each and every one of us from this story. And this is also the instruction, by the way, that we learn from the Alter Rebbe when he was liberated from prison, from the Tsarist imprisonment in Russia. Why? Because during the time that he was in his cubicle in jail in the Peter Paul in S. Petersburg, the Peter Paul prison, so he had a very spiritual revelation that actually was revealed in material factor as well. His rabbis, his spiritual leaders, the Maggid of Mezrich, the great Rav Dov Ber of Mezrich, his direct Rebbe, and Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, who was the Rebbe of Rav Dov Ber of Mezrich, appeared to him in jail, souls in bodies, literally. And the conversation that went on, as we know, was in regard to the factor of what's going to be. Why am I here? First of all, the Alter Rebbe wanted to know, why has he be placed in prison? And they explained to him that there's a spiritual decree in heaven against the fact that he was spreading the well springs of Hasidism, of the inner essence of the Torah, outwards to the entire world, on a level that people can understand it, on a level of Chabad, which is Chochmah Bina Das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. That any person with a little bit of brains and an instructor, a mashpia, a rabbi, a spiritual guide that teaches him can understand. And he said, but wait a second, if that's the reason that I'm in jail, what's going to be with me now? So he said, they told him, the factor is, as far as you're concerned, since you were imprisoned, you're going to be freed. And what's going to be with the spreading of Hasidus? They told him, not only are you meant to go and to continue to spread Hasidism, because you started. Since you started, they said, not only should you continue to spread it, but you should go and you should spread it on a greater scope, on a greater basis, with more intensivity. And this is again the same in regard to the factor of before Petersburg and after Petersburg, before the jail and after jail, when he was liberated from the Tsarist prison. that afterwards he was told that he has to continue to spread Hasidism on a greater and more intense basis, and not only the way he was doing it till now, and definitely not to go down or to cease chas v'shalom with this spreading. And with this, we want to wish, first of all, everyone a good yontif. Again, a good yontif, Lashana Teva, and we mentioned in regard to Lashana Teva Umesuka. It's not written in the original liturgy, but this is something that we could perhaps add, so that will be in our day and age, in the midst of the revelation of Mashiach. It should be also sweet, that we should be able to see Mashiach, we'll be able to feel Mashiach, we'll be able to taste Mashiach. So Lashana Teva Umesuka, B'limud Chassidus, B'darkei Chassidus, Techasevu v'seichasemu, we should be written and inscribed for a good and sweet year in the learning of Chassidus and in the ways of Chassidus, and it should be immediately now with the revelation of the Rebbe Shlita Melech Ha'Moshiach in the third and the eternal Beis Hamikdash, in the Geula Shlema V'Amitas, and the true and the complete Geula redemption. Teichef umyad mamish mamish mamish. Yechi Adoneinu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu Melech Ha'Moshiach Chai V'Kayim Lo'elam V'Ed. Amen.